Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again, barefaced lies. Too often, I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. I'll say barefaced lies. Again.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shooting cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Hey Sean, you got a party, got that little party going on there. Keep to the left, you can't think right, so everything you do goes wrong, yeah. Incompetence just leads to disaster. Corruption brings it on even faster. What you say?
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shitty cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced. That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shitty cold, overgrown, postal road, barefaced lies.
Barefaced lies. Barefaced lies.
Comrades, you always told us you'd build us all a new Jerusalem, yeah. You talk the talk, but when you walk, you only leave a crooked line there. And you don't see the trouble that's brewing, if all you do is just what you're doing.
That's right, yeah, we got an agenda. And it's your money we're gonna spend, yeah. Think you wouldn't want where it's all gonna end, yeah. Think you think we never wanna defend, yeah. Cause when the truth becomes so easy to disguise, you get shit.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.
Very, very good evening. Tuesday, the 8th of July 2025. My name is Raj Amir. This is one of those Recusant 9 transmissions. We were here on Sunday, we're back on Tuesday, and I've got a lot to get through. I'm just smiling at some of the chatter. Emily's subscribed twice with 2 different emails. Thank you so much, Emily. And indeed, I'm looking forward to this. I hope it's insightful. I'm not sure if it will be. Hiya, Dorothy. Hope you're well. And I'm not sure about that. I think Saviour is far too strong a comment for me. If you all do follow the work, you'll have seen I put out some YouTube short type content. I finally got my head around it, spent all day trying to make sense of it. I'm afraid this isn't my world, so I'm trying my best, and it was using a software package called Opus Clip, I think is what I've used, and I'll keep going with it. So I'll keep going with it for the rest of the month and see how it works out. Now for me, our measure of success isn't vanity stats. I'm not really interested in just views. what I'm interested in is see what sort of engagement we get. So whether we get any likes, whether we get the shares, whether we get comments, and that's insightful comments underneath where people view and share their perspectives on the shorts, and of course whether it translates to sign-ups on the newsletter Red Wall and the Rabble. Yeah, again, it doesn't matter if it's paid or if it's free, it's whether it translates. So we'll do that. So I think it cost me £150-160 for the year, so we will just add that to the list of annual subscriptions I pay just to keep going. But I am genuinely interested to see whether the shorts that so many of you have been asking for makes any difference. I'm not comfortable with them at all. I'll be honest with you from the outset. I'm not comfortable with them at all. I think what I explain and what I try and share and have you understand can't be done in 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and I've tried it before. But let's see where we end up with it, and see if it increases our numbers and increases, well, then it's of value, isn't it? And then hopefully people will get the 30 seconds or the 60 seconds and come and engage in the more in-depth, meaningful content. Speaking of in-depth and meaningful content, I am in Barrow actually on Thursday. So if any of you are getting there tomorrow, please, my apologies. I'm exhausted. I think where I am is I'm exhausted, and the plan is to keep going until the end of July, and then we'll pause in August for a break from the live transmissions, I think. And I want to go and do some writing, do some reading, get myself back in the game and understand where this is up to, and also maybe try some videos out, some recorded videos, and get some content out. These transmissions, whilst I'm on for an hour or 2 hours, you've got to understand they take me 7-8 hours at least to prep. It's just how it is. So let's get through the rest of this month. I'm hoping I'll finish with, there's a meal, isn't there, on the 28th, I think, or the 27th and the 28th. There's a meal that last week, so I think we will finish with that meal is my intention. So the Sunday before, I think, will be the last sort of live transmission. And if I'm honest with you, I on reflection, I have got PTSD. I have no doubt about that whatsoever, and I feel the anxiety when my daughter's here and when she stays with me. So my daughter's been with me most of the week. She's with her grandma for the next couple of days because I missed, got the Barrow date wrong. But when she's with me here, I'll be honest with you, I don't sleep well. Anxious of, whether anyone's going to be banging on my door. But you know what makes me most anxious is whether or not the police will hammer at my door at 6 a.m. with a child in my house. So that is why I'm feeling it, and I can sense it. I can sense it. So I'm not sure that will ever go away, but that is the consequence. It's the consequence of what the police did to me to try and silence me, to stop you from knowing what's took place, and to stop the campaign which forced the national inquiry, where we all now know what the truth is. The rape gangs are real, and the politicians, the police and the policy officers all covered it up. So I think that's a price I have paid. Thank you so much for that offer, Catherine. Thank you so much. You never know, I might take you up on it. And it is, Jenny, I think it is stress. I try and not to succumb to stress, but I think in the end it is stress. And we've got through what we've got to from January and the pace we've gone at, and it's 7 months, including this month. It'll be 7 months, I think 6 months, and I'm finally starting to finally starting to feel it. So I'm hoping August go and visit some of the places where we know the rape gangs have been operating, but we've not got the scale of response as we'd like to see in the rape gang inquiry. You'll know I'm a member of Rupert Lowe's rape gang inquiry, so I try and help there as much as I can. So I'll go and do some of that in August. I think I'll go and visit some of these towns and cities and try and encourage people to step forward, and I'll explain some of that. I'll explain some of that very as we move forward. Now, I promised you. Thank you, Colin, and thank you for the super chats. Thank you. I'm very grateful. If you are new to me, and many of you are new to me, and despite what people say, Raja, why do you keep saying if you are new to me? Because the truth is many people are new to me, and they're continuing to be new to me, and we want to welcome them and try and support, encourage them to sign up. That's it. redwallandtherabble.co. This one, redwallandtherabble.co.uk. Completely free. All of my work is 100% free. You only support me if you can afford to pay to do so. There is no pressure. The content goes out for free to absolutely everyone. And if you pay me £3 once every 6 months, you get the same as if you pay me a £25 a month or whatever it is you do. So thank you very, very much. And if you can't sign up, I've signed up. That's the Buy Me a Coffee site. So please, if you can, support me, because we're here because we're here together. Okay, I promised you to take you further on a journey than you know. And if I started here, if I started where I'm going to start, where I take you this evening, then we wouldn't have got to this point, because it's steps. It's all about small steps. Let me start with this, he says, as he tries to wonder why that's not working. Let me just see what's happened there. There we go. It was just a wire. The Telegraph ran with this story. I want to run through it first, and it'll kind of set the scene as we move forward. The grooming gang scandal is still going on. The abusers are using any means possible. And they interview Fiona Goddard, a very brave young woman. I saw her on Newsnight, I think, some time ago. So victims like Fiona Goddard and worried mothers say they are waiting for the full scale of sexual exploitation in Bradford to be investigated. So Keighley, I don't know if any of you have been here. Picturesque town is an interesting way of describing it, but the picturesque town of Keighley is nestled in Bronte country. Old stone terraced houses overlook the windswept moorland that inspired the literary sisters' 19th century novels. More recently, a far darker story has unfolded in this corner of West Yorkshire. In 2003, the local MP at the time raised concerns about grooming gangs. Worried mothers had told Anne Cryer their young daughters were being sexually exploited by a group of older Asian men, and that police and social services were failing to take action. When Cryer spoke about the issue, she faced accusations of racism and received menacing notes and telephone calls. She stood down in 2010, and several more years went by before anyone was convicted of the sexual abuse. The crimes continued in the meantime. Multiple cases have come to court during the past decade. In 2016, 12 men who sexually exploited a vulnerable teenage girl in Keighley between 2011 and 2012 were jailed. By 2023, 37 suspects were repeatedly awaiting trial for alleged historic child sexual exploitation offences in the wider Bradford area, of which Keighley is part. Earlier this year, 8 were jailed for offences dating back to the 1990s. other cases have yet to come to trial. But evidence suggests the grooming and sexual exploitation of girls, predominantly by British Pakistani men, is not just a shameful episode in Bradford and Keighley's history, it is still ongoing here, according to multiple sources. So this is the Telegraph. It's not some, it's as mainstream a newspaper as you get, confirming that their own sources, according to multiple sources, it is still ongoing. Last week, a new local case landed on the desk of child sex abuse solicitor David Greenwood. It involved the alleged abuse of 2 children from the same family, both aged under 12 at the time. They were allegedly picked up in cars by taxi drivers, plied with alcohol, and sexually assaulted by multiple people. A white woman was said to be involved in the grooming too. So by that inference, I presume the taxi drivers were Asian or Pakistani. They're not brave enough to say it, but they're brave enough to say a white woman was said to be involved in the grooming too. This isn't a historic incident. It allegedly occurred just 18 months ago around Christmas 2023 and is currently under investigation by police, said Greenwood. Thank you for that. Sorry about the way it's flying over. I'm afraid I've not had a chance to reset all of the comment sections yet. The West Yorkshire lawyer, who has represented survivors of similar abuse in Rotherham, estimates, this is what you want, estimates that almost 8,000 girls have been affected by these offences in the Bradford Council area since 1996. I think that's an underestimation personally, but he estimates at least 8,000 in the Bradford Council area since 1996. If the figure is anywhere near this, it would dwarf the scale of grooming scandals elsewhere in Britain. In Rotherham, an independent inquiry in 2014 led by Professor Alexis J found at least 1,400 underage girls had been abused between 1997 and 2013. There are now calls for Bradford to be included in the National Grooming Gangs Inquiry announced by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer last month after a U-turn on the issue. Previously, he accused those asking for a national inquiry of jumping on the far-right bandwagon. There's been an unwillingness for Bradford to be included in the National Grooming Gang Inquiry. There's been an unwillingness in Bradford to look into this in an objective or impartial way, says Greenwood. The council has commissioned inquiries with narrow terms of reference, and they're really not getting to the scale of the problem and the response to it, whether good or bad, from the council or police. Yet Bradford, he believes, could in fact be the epicentre of this brand of criminality that spans the country. Cases I've dealt with elsewhere tend to have links with Bradford, he says. All roads tend to lead to Bradford. The men often come from Bradford and or take the girls to Bradford. It's hard to gauge how many girls are currently being groomed and sexually exploited in the area, he says, but I'm convinced it's continuing and will continue. The perpetrators are clever, manipulative people who will try any means possible. Try any means possible. Not my words, that's the solicitor's words, yeah? It then gives a story, and I think it's right that we have the picture of young Fiona. And I don't want to get into either her story now or her insight into this, because she talks about anecdotal, and I think it's unfair putting these young people in these positions as experts when they were survivors. I think, you know, there's so much other things going on. Then it goes on with the poverty and all the stats and whatnot. I want to go to the not racist to examine ethnicity of offenders, referenced by Baroness Casey. What of the vexed question of ethnicity? A report carried out by Baroness Casey, published last month, found there had been nationally a collective failure to address questions about the ethnicity of grooming gangs. The subject is shied away from and is still not recorded for 2/3 of perpetrators, her report found. But, stressed Lady Casey, it was not racist to examine the ethnicity of the offenders. Her report found overrepresentation of Asian heritage men suspects of sexual exploitation of children based on data from 3 police forces, including West Yorkshire. But Lady Casey also warned that the public should keep calm about the ethnicity of offenders following heated public debate this year. If you look at the data on child exploitation, suspects and offenders, it is disproportionately Asian heritage, she told MPs. If you look at the data for child abuse, it is not disproportionate and it is white men. So she's also, you know, trying to balance this and play the game. I'm just moving a few paragraphs. If the focus lately has been ethnicity, another key strand of the story is the way marginalised girls were failed by the authorities that should have been safeguarding them. So marginalised girls, it's an interesting word, and I'm going to come back to that. It's been argued by those on both left and right that this was partly fueled by class prejudice against the victims. So something you, me and all of us have been talking about for some time, about the class prejudice. There you go. I don't think it was all to do with trying to prevent racial tensions, Fiona Goddard agrees. I think some of it was to do with the bad impressions that the authorities had of us. She cites lack of respect for children in care. There was a lot of blame put on us. So marginalised girls now expands to mean children in care. She and others are still waiting for the full scale of the scandal in Bradford to be properly examined. The local authority says it has nothing to hide. Councillor Susan Hinchcliffe, leader of Bradford Council, says, "This is an appalling crime that blights victims' lives. In Bradford, we take this extremely seriously, so I welcome the renewed focus on this nationally. We work hard with the police to identify historic victims of CSE to get them justice and provide support. So far, this has resulted in 52 perpetrators receiving prison sentences." I don't care about the year total. 52. And you've seen 8,000 as the figure cited. Over the last 10 years, we have published over 70 reports. We have published over 70 reports. Going forward, we are ready to participate in any way we can. We are committed to tackling all abuse so that we can better protect children. Okay. I want to play a short clip. So bear with me whilst I put my headphones on.
The extraordinary scale of the rape gang scandal has been exposed by the shocking revelation that one police force alone, right now, is investigating more than 1,000 grooming gang suspects, rape gang suspects. Over 300 Greater Manchester cops are probing claims made by 714 more victims. These are young, vulnerable white girls who say they've been preyed upon by Muslim men of Pakistani heritage. This force is the biggest police force in the land, actually, Manchester, Greater Manchester Police. Of course, encompasses Rochdale, which is the dark heart of the rape gang scandal. So when people say, oh, is this still going on? You bet your bottom dollar it's still going on, and at scale. This is awful, isn't it?
It's terrible.
So then they've got the gentleman from the New Culture Forum, who's originally from Bury, actually. You can find the full exchange on Talk. I try not to get angry by it, because they could, of course, invite me on, and I would not need to refer to notes and give them the sort of perspective I think that they and the nation would value. But as you all know, I am still, and I continue to be still, blacklisted by the mainstream media. So they rely on commentators who have other areas of specialism to try and adapt themselves to make sense of this. So again, this time he talked about girls in care. Girls in care. And this is what I want to share with you. And it's a story I think we focus on now. And you need to understand this. Okay. Try any means possible. Well, let me share with you what trying any means possible means. When this pattern, and you can go back in time and go back in time, but let's start with the 90s, because this is when some of the earliest convictions that we're now talking about still go back to. In the 90s, the focus was on marginalised girls, vulnerable girls, children in care. And the rape gangs would target these children's homes. Sometimes they would park their cars outside these children's homes, like something out of Chitty Bang Bang, and lure children outside. Children who craved affection, had nothing much, would then, of course, get in the cars, and we know what would then take place. They'd also target vulnerable girls who sometimes were not in care, but came from damaged homes where their parents were not as active in their parenting as perhaps they should be. to children hanging outside takeaways and taxi ranks late at night. And that was, I don't know if it's marginalised girls, but that's another type of demographic from those in care. Those in care, the state were wholly responsible, and the state behaved completely irresponsibly. The next group I make a reference to, I'm sorry, there's something bleeping away on my phone and I have no idea what it is and it's annoying me. The next group I make reference to is those who, teenage girls who came from broken homes or were troublesome in some way at home, however you want to describe it, whatever the politically correct term is, I'm sure you understand. They had family issues. So again, these men would buy him the kebabs at night and so on, and that pattern continued. So you can say marginalised girls and girls at care is where the Pakistani rape gangs historically and initially targeted. A transition took place in the mid to late 1990s. He'd been picking them up and taking away and gang raping, trafficking and selling them outside care homes, from care homes, with impunity. No one bothered. He'd been taking girls away from broken homes, from damaged homes, and where the parents spoke out, they themselves had issues, and you could treat the children with complete contempt, and the families could be prosecuted because they had no understanding of the legal system, which is where you get the stories of fathers being arrested for going after the members of the rape gangs rather than the members of the rape gangs. Chaotic lifestyles, is that the right term, John? Thank you. What none of them will admit, acknowledge, or talk about is what I started to make reference when I went outside that school in Oldham called Waterhead Academy. And I make none of this up because I have first-hand witness testimony from multiple witnesses and family members and staff. So I'm not here to make things up. I've never been here to make things up. But it takes this to an entirely new space and an even more dangerous space. All this time they've been pushing the narrative. Vulnerable girls, children in care, marginalised girls, those with chaotic lifestyles. Try any means possible. The rape gangs then moved to the schools. Ordinary state comprehensive schools, secondary schools. And they did this en masse across the country. The taxis would be parked outside first and foremost, in the same way they parked outside the children's homes, offering free lifts home, all of that sort of stuff. And the school staff knew, as in the witness testimony I shared from another school in Oldham called Radcliffe School, where the school issued a dictate that these girls were making informed choices. Of course, they could not access all of the girls that they wanted to access by parking the taxis outside. They needed to expand the reach into the schools themselves. And this is where it naturally goes to, and this is where the government will be too scared to take it to unless we force them. In school after school across the country, Pakistani children in the main, boys, 15, 16, were recruited by these rape gangs using existing family links, clan associations, to identify children that they could lure out of the school. These were not vulnerable children. These were not marginalized children. These were daughters that could have been any one of yours in a functioning family that with nothing wrong whatsoever. And they went and identified these girls, separated them from the peer network, turned them against their families, using tactics that they'd learnt, been taught. And once they'd isolated these girls sufficiently, passed them on to their older cousins, uncles, and so on, who piled them with drink, raped them. Remember, these are children from functioning families, too scared to say anything. And then using those same taxes, trafficked these girls across the country where they were systematically gang raped night after night after night. And the schools knew about it, because I also have testimony from staff where school staff were going and picking up these children from known flats, known spaces that were essentially rape camps, modern day rape camps. Now I know in the town I come from, school after school after school has been named. It will be the same everywhere else. Your children, our children, were being targeted in the very schools by members of these rape clans. And to this day, no one will speak about it. No one will share this with you. Now we've forced this out into the open, they want to focus on the safe space. Girls in care, children in care, marginalised girls, chaotic families. No. These people were targeting, grooming, gang raping, trafficking children who did not fit any of those problematic characteristics. Of course, many of them ended up in a space. Does anyone blame any of them? Where they were damaged and traumatized in a way that is beyond most of our comprehension. And that is what took place. And a national inquiry has got to audit every secondary school in this country, including those that have been shut down, amalgamated into academies. A national inquiry has got to audit every secondary school in this country. Do not buy into this narrative of marginalised girls, children in care. The rape gangs evolved, try any means possible, and they wanted more and more girls, and they trained, recruited the younger clan members, cousins, nephews, whatever they are, and sent them into the very schools where they were students. And before anyone from Greater Manchester Police wants to come and arrest me for sharing this, your own records will prove this is factual. Your own records will prove it happened at Waterhead Academy, at Havershaw School, at North Chadderton School, at Radcliffe School. In fact, pretty much any school where there was a significant ethnic minority cohort, Pakistani cohort in the main. Many of these girls were then sent back into the classes, into the schools, to find new girls, or else things would happen to them, their sisters, their family members. 100% Radcliffe. First-hand witness testimony. The governors at these schools, as with all local authority schools, included councillors. The Labour Party councillors in my town. And it'd be the same. What I'm describing to you will be the same across the country. Yes, indeed. A former leader of our town did describe it as barefaced lies. If I shared this with you at the beginning, you'd think I was a nutcase. Because what I'm sharing with you brings it closer to home for more people than ever before. This isn't just a scandal for the nation to look at and think, oh, this is wrong, we must do something about it from a distance. This isn't something that happened to other people's children, particularly those children who were marginalised in care, leading chaotic lives. This is what happened to a normal 13-year-old child, a normal 12-year-old child from a very lower middle class family. And no one is talking about it. No one wants to talk about how state secondary schools, our secondary schools, were infiltrated by the rape gangs. Why? Are we that scared? Is this where we've ended up? For those of you who are new to me, my name is Raja Amir. I've been at this, it's my 7th year now. On this journey. And what a journey it's been. To get us to this point where we have forced a national inquiry, we must now inform the scope and scale of this inquiry. We can't let it go now, because if we let it go now, you know what will happen. You know what they will do. And for that to happen, I need your help. I am blacklisted by the mainstream media. I do have an MBE. I've spent 25 years of my life in public service, fighting extremists in the main. The Al-Qaeda kind. I am blacklisted because of the truths that I share and where I take this to. It's not a cliche that children were sacrificed at the altar of multiculturalism, or that politicians sold children for votes. I clearly educate you and demonstrate to you why, where, when, and how all of that took place. That's why I spent 3 years of my life on bail, because these people tried to have me imprisoned to silence me. I'm not a Maggie Oliver. She does amazing work with survivors. I'm not that. I'm definitely not a Tommy Robinson or a Charlie Peters. I'm a very, very focused political campaigner who sat in rooms with world leaders prior to coming to this space. My ask of you, there's a simple web page, and that you sign up. It's pinned at the top. It's redwallandrabble.co.uk. It's 100% free, but I need numbers. We need numbers. Because without the numbers, we'll not be able to inform and influence what happens next, and they will succeed in the cover-up. And everything we have done will come to nothing. That isn't a question I can answer for you, Joanna. What I do know is that I am of that community, and the Muslim men I know, in the main, are very decent and are as horrified of this and appalled by what has taken place as anyone else. And the men in the main I've come across who commit these crimes do so through a cultural lens, more so than a religious one. And I've explained that. If you followed my work, I've explained that. Of the history of the Pakistani rape clans. And Terry, thank you so much. Terry also sends me posts on on Facebook, I think Messenger. But our numbers are stalled, Terry. Our numbers have stalled. Our engagement figures are through the roof. I think 3 million on Facebook, 6 million or something on X. But we need numbers. So I plead with you. I plead with you to take a moment and subscribe. And in the meantime, I'll do my best to carry on doing my best. I'm meeting with survivors tomorrow. I'm in Barrow on Thursday at a reform meeting. Contrary to what my local branch have claimed, of course I'm not blacklisted. Why would reform want to blacklist someone like me who speaks the way I do? It's just the envy of the want-to-be politicians in my town who are doing what they can to desperately trying to demonize me. I leave it to you to make your own mind up as to what sort of man you think I am. Rather than the smears of men who are the worst of what we see as politicians, I think. I'm not of that world. So please, if you can, and I'm looking, I've had no sign-ups this evening. and yet there's over 1,000 of you here. A very good evening.
Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them. On the 20th of November 2003, James Ignatius O'Rourke McMahon was elected councillor for the Failsworth East Ward of Oldham. Deeply ambitious, he ruthlessly rose to power, and by 2011 he was already leader of the council. In 2015, exploiting a Labour Party loophole, he became MP for Oldham West and Royton. If only the people of the town knew then what they now know. Do not fear them. Do not fear any of them.